What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. And oh my gosh, the season is almost here. We're almost through the dark ages. I can't believe it. Preseason starts tomorrow. And the NBA is just starting to wake up. Obviously, we just had the Karl Anthony Towns, Julius Randle trade. That one really shook a lot of us. We had no idea that that move was coming. And look, it feels like NBA fans are starting to wake up, and I want to keep talking about it. It's no secret that I wasn't a huge fan of Julius Randle going back to Minnesota. I understand the business implications of it. I really do. If you want to hear my full thoughts on it, go watch some of the other videos that I have on it, but I want to explore what the Timberwolves can do with Julius Randle now that they have him, and by that I mean how else can they move him. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. All right, let's do it. I'm talking really fast today because I just want to get right into it. I feel like my intro shouldn't be that long. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's bad for retention in some way or fashion. And speaking of retention, before we even talk about this stuff, thank you to those of you that were watching the preseason preview series. I know that series didn't get like a ton of views or anything like that. It's kind of the dead point in the season. It was just for us basketball sweats, but I had so much fun doing it. I loved recording it. I loved talking about it and getting ready for the season with you guys. The discussions we had on the Discord, go join the Discord, link in the description, were awesome. So thank you to all of you that were watching it every single day and starting your day with it. We'll be sure to do it again next year. But let's talk Julius Randle. So, like I said, I understand the business sense of trading Julius Randle. The money was going to get tight in Minnesota, and it's hard, and you might not have had an opportunity to move him after that. Maybe you lose a Naz Reid. Maybe you lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Things like that. Me personally, value certain things in like how you establish a winning culture a bit more than some other logical things. I'll be the first one to be real logical with people. I really will. This is one of those times where I feel like the Minnesota Timberwolves should have kept Karl Anthony Towns and just tried to figure it out afterwards. I think we've done something where we've told the rest of the organization we're not that serious about winning now, and that's fine that they were able to look themselves in the mirror and say, we don't think we can win a championship this year. That's totally fine. Like, I can respect that. I can respect that honesty. But, like, I feel like we've just made Ant's job a little bit harder now, and that worries me. I mean, we'll get to see what we got in Naz Reid, because Julius Randle's going to be out for, like, the start of the season and everything, and I have high hopes for Naz. But Julius Randle just doesn't fit on this team. He just really doesn't. Like, at least from an on-paper standpoint, this is a great basketball player. Let's keep that in mind. Julius Randle's a very, very good basketball player. We all know that, right? It just doesn't seem like he fits here. And he is one of those players in the NBA that's really hard to figure out where he can fit. So in this video, we're going to explore, like, every possible place that we think we could realistically trade him to. I've got an article here, but then what we're going to do is we're going to go into Fanspo. I'm going to go through all 29 of the other teams and figure out where we could reasonably trade him and what we could trade him for. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first idea that this article has is a floor spacer from the Heat. The Heat make a lot of sense just without even reading anything else as a place that they could send Julius Randle to. They're just looking to add some talent to the team. Julius Randle for Nikola Jovic, Terry Rozier, and Thomas Bryant. Okay, interesting. The Miami Heat now have a team then of what, like Tyler Hero? Who do they have at point guard after that? Is it just Rozier? And then they've got Jimmy Butler and Randall and Bam. That's a gross basketball team that I don't like very much. So take that as you will. Would you be happy if you're the Timberwolves and you moved Randall and you got Jovic, given you already get a bunch more cap flexibility by doing that, which is nice. I actually don't know if this takes them below the second apron. Let's just explore this quick. So if we trade Julius Randle over here to the Heat and then Terry Rozier comes over. Who else did we take? We took Jovic on in this one, and we took Thomas Bryant on. Where does that take them? Does this tell us they only save about 1.5 million in cap? This is the thing with how the cap works nowadays, guys. Like, they're only saving 1.5. I believe the Timberwolves are like still 8-9 million over the second cap, so you're not getting a ton of flexibility. Do you really need a Terry Rozier? Probably not. Do you like Jovic is an interesting player for them, and Bryant's a reserve big. They kind of don't need that either. I don't know. I don't really like this trade. I'm not a big fan of it. All right, Bleacher Report. What else do you have for me? A floor spacer complementing Gobert. Okay, they did a bit of that this offseason, and I see Norman Powell, and Nick Batum in the picture. Julius Randle for Norman Powell, Nicholas Batum, and a 2031 top 10 protected first-round pick. Okay, so here's a concept that you guys will have to keep in mind as we go throughout this video when it comes to Julius Julius Randle. So Julius Randle's value from the fact that he's just been traded instantly is decreased a little bit because of the conversations that have been had since the trade, right? Like, Julius Randle's a very good basketball player. I can't say that enough. But look, when this trade happened, we all kind of had the discourse of like, okay, Randle's the not as fun player involved in this trade, right? Just because it's hard to figure out where he fits. There's plenty of people saying, I don't see how he fits on Minnesota. So put yourself in the seat of someone that's trying to trade for Julius Randle right now, right? You're going to say, look, Minnesota, we know you don't want him. We know that that's not why you're interested. We know you wanted DiVincenzo and you wanted to save some money and get yourself some flexibility. We know that, that Julius Randle doesn't necessarily fit with you guys. He's got options that he can go to at the end of the season. You need to trade him, right? So there's a lot more leverage going the other way, right? And just the negative discourse around that trade right now, it's going to make it harder to trade him. So is a package like this unrealistic? No, not necessarily. Do I think Julius Randle would be good on the Clippers? Yeah, I think they need all the talent that they can this year to fill some seats. You put him around Kawhi and James Harden, shit, you at least got a pretty interesting team. You got a strong team, if nothing else. A lot of bulky bodies out there in the first five with him and Zubats. Do the Timberwolves need Norman Powell? No, not at all. Like, they've got Terrence Shannon, they've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Norman Powell's a good basketball player. Like, don't get me wrong, 3-and-D to the max. But do we need like a 6'4" guard to play that spot? No, we kind of got enough of those guys. It feels repetitive. Nick Batum would be a nice role player for this team. It's not worth giving up Julius Randle for. And then you got this pick. No, I think I'm okay. No, I'd rather just hold on to Julius Randle in this instance and see if we can't make him fit. So that's how I feel about this one. Oh no, don't. I never read these articles beforehand so I can get genuine reactions to things. Don't tell me you're going to trade Sohan. Who else are they going to trade to make this work? Where does the salary work? They can't trade Vassell. You're going to trade Harrison Barnes. Yeah, you are. Julius Randle for Harrison Barnes and Jeremy Sohan. I do not like the idea of Jeremy Sohan playing next to Gobert. That doesn't interest me very much. And then what do I do with Harrison Barnes? Harrison Barnes then becomes like a reserve forward for this team as a bit of a 3-and-D. That'd be an interesting role player to bring in at the very least. He's a veteran, right? He's a proven winning player. That one I don't hate a ton. I'm not sure, like, I like the value of Jeremy Sohan. I like the defense that he brings and everything. And I like that he's a smart passer. I don't know. I don't think that makes a ton of sense to me. I actually like Sohan and Wemby together too, just because I think they are both smart basketball players that can eventually become a really dynamic, like, defensive front court. Let's even look at this from the Spurs perspective. Why do you need to add Julius Randle to this team? You just don't. You don't need to accelerate the rebuild this much. So for that reason alone, I don't think that makes a ton of sense. And I'm going to move on from this. Oh, I already love where this is going. Ooh. How can we make this work with Cam Johnson? Cam Johnson on the Timberwolves sounds phenomenal. Julius Randle, yep, I was going to say you're going to have to pay them to take him on because they don't need Julius Randle right now. The Brooklyn Nets do not need a Julius Randle. They're actively trying to lose basketball games, right? But they will take bad contracts right now. So will like the Charlotte Hornets and maybe like the Washington Wizards. Like, those are teams right now that are like, hey, give us some draft picks. We'll take on your contracts. Like, we'll do that. So I'm listening. Julius Randle and a second round pick. Okay, fine. For Cam Johnson and Jalen Wilson, I love this trade. How much money are we saving in this? We send Cam Johnson over there, and then we send Jalen Wilson, who's a very interesting young player, I will add in and of itself, and that gives you a little bit more size on the wing. This gives us the spacing 4 that we're looking for. Saves us a little bit more money, right? Okay, we can feel... I feel like Julius Randle's contract is a lot more than $28 million, so I expected them to actually fall under that, the second apron with that. Again, I think we need about $9 million to get under it, if I remember correctly. So, man, Julius Randle's on a pretty good deal, like, for the level of production that you get out of him when he's not injured or pouting, right? But no, it saves you a decent amount of money. I think Cameron Johnson's going to bring more value to the team than having a Julius Randle, like, in all honesty. I just think that's what they need. They need kind of that spacing 3/4. I see him more as a power forward nowadays that can be dynamic in a bunch of other ways on the basketball court, plays winning basketball. Jalen Wilson, I think, would be an interesting project to help develop on this team. So I like this trade a lot. I really do. So that's the end of this article. But what I want to do now is, like I said, I want to go through every single team with you guys, every single team, and see where can we trade Julius Randle to. And hell, we're going to start from the top. Do the Celtics need him? No. Do the Knicks need him? Well, I don't think you can legally even do that. The Milwaukee Bucks. Do the Milwaukee Bucks need Julius Randle? Probably not. I don't need Giannis and Randle on the court together. Cleveland. Is there something here with Cleveland? Cleveland would very much like to trade. I shouldn't say very much because I'm still on team. Let's see if we can make this team work. If you guys watch my Cleveland Cavaliers like preseason preview video, you'll see that I kind of talked about like the stats say that Garland can't play with Mitchell and Mobley doesn't play well with Allen. Like they do, they're still positive, but it's way better when you have, I think it was Donovan Mitchell and Jared, or I think it's Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen and then Garland and Mobley. Like those lineups separately are like amazing. So maybe they do just need to stagger each other and go from there. But in a world where this team doesn't get off to a hot start and maybe they want to trade some people, could this even work? No, I think Randle's contract isn't good enough. Like it would have to be for Jared Allen, and you wouldn't bring Jared Allen onto this team. So I don't think there's a realistic world in which this happens. Did the Orlando Magic need Julius Randle? No, they've got Paolo, and I think he could be way better than Julius Randle. Again, Julius Randle's a very good basketball player. I just have high hopes for Paolo. Pacers just got Siakam. They're not interested. Do the Philadelphia 76ers need Julius Randle? The short answer is no. Him and Embiid make about as much sense. Well, it makes a little more sense because Joel Embiid is just like a more dynamic basketball player than Rudy Gobert is. So it does make a little bit more sense. There's not a ton of size on Philadelphia once you go away from Joel Embiid and Paul George, right? Like, obviously, you've got another big center in Drummond, but then you have a bunch of kind of smaller wings on this team. It helped when they got Yabusele. Can they even logically put together something that could even make this happen is my question. I don't necessarily think so. And would you want to? So let's just say hypothetically we're moving like Paul George or Caleb Martin like out of a potential power forward spot, right? Who else could we even reasonably move? Like they're a first apron team right now, which means I think they can take back 110% of the salary that's coming over. So let's just say we do Julius Randle, and let me just try this, right? So like Caleb Martin would be a player that they'd probably be really interested in Minnesota. Like, how much more do we need? We need to cut still. Yeah. Okay, 76ers are able to, since they are now over the second apron team after this trade, that's right. It has to be 100% of the salary. Then that's right. I forget that that's how the rules work. It's taking me forever, and honestly, everyone in the NBA to learn all of these rules. So you would have to trade him, Kelly Oubre, like KJ Martin. Like, no, it's not happening. Not the Sixers. Well, we already talked about the Heat a little bit, and like, I could reasonably see something here. I don't know what it is, though. I don't hate the idea of bringing Duncan Robinson over to the Timberwolves. I feel like that'd be a really cool player to have on this team. Like, DiVincenzo's a good enough defender where I feel good about him off the bench to where I feel like I can also have Duncan Robinson on the court. So, like, let's just say we sent him over to the Timber Pups, right? Let's say we did something like that. They're a first apron team, so again, we'll have to kind of watch to see like what kind of financial rules we're hitting there. And they're probably cool with giving up a Duncan Robinson in this one. They could have a pretty interesting starting five if we don't touch any more of the starters. And I don't necessarily feel like we have to. So we bring Duncan Robinson over. Who else do we want? Do we bring back Kevin Love just to bring him back and have him back on the Timberwolves? Kind of a cool option. We definitely want Jovic in it because we said we think he's dynamic as well. Let's see how many more Caucasians we can bring over in this trade. Are there any other obvious one? Jaime Jaquez doesn't count. Kevin Love? Maybe, yes. I don't know. They don't necessarily need Kevin Love with Julius Randle coming over. How much more do we need to make this work? The Timberwolves need to cut. Oh, I didn't put Julius Randle in it. That's on me. Julius Randle goes over to the Heat. What do we got here? So, okay, so we have to match it 100%. So how short are we? We're about like $7-ish million off. See, this is where it gets complicated. This is where it gets real complicated. I don't know how we necessarily make this work. Like, we got Terrence Shannon. I don't want him touched. I don't want Rob Dillingham touched. They apparently want to keep Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so I'm trying to keep a sense of realism in that. So let's just say, hypothetically, we're throwing Kevin Love into this as well, right? How much more do we need to make with this? So we need to cut another $3-ish million off of it. So we could do, like, the $5 million of Haywood Highsmith or something like that, and then send them back like a Bates Jop or something like that. I mean, do these numbers work? Recently signed, recently traded. Okay, so this trade does work. Do the Heat want to give up this much depth to just build a super starting five? Maybe they would. Because they feel that good about developing other players on their team. Do the Timberwolves want this? I don't necessarily know. I might just rather have Julius Randle, in all honesty. I liked the start of Duncan Robinson and like Jovic and stuff like that. I'm not sure I want the rest of it. So I don't know. I don't feel great about this one. It's not going to be easy to put these trades together, y'all. It's not going to be easy at the end of the day. The Bulls, you can probably make the Bulls do just about anything. In all honesty, at this point, why would the Bulls want Julius Randle? You're going to have to pay him to do it, right? Because the Levine trade just won't work. They can't make the money work. Lonzo Ball, they're probably just not that interested in doing so. They can absorb the salary well, is kind of the only thing. So you'd have to pay them, and like, what are you really working with in terms of assets at this point? Like, it's really not anything all that crazy. You pay him to take a couple second-round picks on or something like that. You have to help them clear some cap space. They just signed Patrick Williams, so they're probably not going to want to do that, and I don't really see anybody else that they're willing to do this for, so we're going to scrap the Bulls as well. Bulls, not happening. Hawks have Jalen Johnson, probably not interested. We talked about the Nets. I liked that Nets trade, Cameron Johnson and Jalen Wilson. That one I could see. Do the Toronto Raptors need Julius Randle? No. Here's why. Scotty Barnes, well, yes, you can make an argument. You move RJ Barrett over the 2, Scotty to the 3, something like that. You start Randle. I want Scotty Barnes to have the ball as much as possible this year so that we can turn him into more of a ball handling like wing. That's kind of my goal. I actually had a talk with someone in the comments like not too long ago about like I want Scotty Barnes to have the development of like Jason Tatum, where he starts to assume more ball handling duties, to which they were like, oh, well, like he brings the ball up just as much. I showed him this. I showed the stats. It's not even close. Like the amount of initiating that like Jason Tatum does compared to Scotty Barnes. And so that's no knock on Scotty. I'm just saying we gotta like ramp him up, right? Like we gotta get him more and more involved. I want him running this offense because I think that's the best thing for his development. So I don't want Julius Randle in the way of that. Julius Randle's a hard body to match with people. Charlotte, there's got to be something here, right? Charlotte can take on the money, and they'd probably like some picks. So what can we give up to make this worth it to them is my question. Okay, so we don't have Cat anymore, right? So we're down to, like, hypothetically at the end of this trade, we're down to Rudy and Nas, who Nas can play the 4 or the 5. We feel pretty comfortable about that, right? Rudy just staying at center. Do we want to add some more size in the way of like Nick Richards or something like that? So let's start off with the basics of Julius Randle going over there. How much money do we really need to make up? Who's a good? Let's just put in like a Cody Martin or something like that. The Timberwolves are trying to have cap flexibility. What does Cody Martin's contract actually look like? Does he have a player option at the end of this year? 25-26 is non-guaranteed. Okay, so yeah, you don't even have to keep him. You could just have the cap flexibility after that. That's not the worst thing in the world. Where do we want to go after that? Give me Nick Richards. Where am I at after this? I'm not saying it's perfect, but okay, they need to cut another like $8-ish million. Okay, I'm listening. Give us Grant Williams back then, right? I know Grant Williams just got there, but I mean, you don't need him now that you have Julius Randle, so send him over to the Timber Pups over here, and now we're not going to work, right? Oh, this does work? Have the Timberwolves fallen to a point to where this can make sense? Okay, so I'm interested now. So now we have a little bit more dynamic of a player in Grant Williams, who still sometimes gets in the way, but he can be a good playmaker. He can stretch at some points. Like, he's going to be more of a traditional role player, won't get in the way. He's not going to be a great bucket getter. Cody Martin's on the team to make salary work. He's another wing. Nick Richards comes in as another dynamic center that can be a lob threat, which is cool. I'm a big fan of Nick Richards. Is this worth Julius Randle? Well, hard to say, right? Why do the Hornets do this? They bring in Julius Randle because they need to start winning games for their culture. LaMelo Ball needs to start winning some games. Like, they don't necessarily need to just do a Miles Bridges swap. Hold up. Wait, let's even just like scrap all this for a second here. Do you just straight up do Miles Bridges for Julius Randle? Why have I not thought of this? Why is recently signed? Yeah, no, that's totally fine. We just wait a little bit. Miles Bridges would be a way better fit in Minnesota. Julius Randle would be way better for the Hornets as they're trying to find some more dynamic options. I know Charlotte fans are already in a ruckus. Some of them are, because you guys don't have many guys that can score 20 points and you guys love Miles Bridges too much. Miles Bridges needs a change of scenery. I won't get into all the other stuff going on in his life and everything, but I'd do something like this. Like, I would say you have to throw in like another pick or something like that if you're Charlotte to make it happen, like a protected first or something, and maybe some seconds. I just think that Julius Randle is a much better player and a much more He's just got his head screwed on a little bit better than Miles Bridges does. So I think there's something that can be done here with Charlotte. We can move people here, and I think it could benefit both sides. The Wizards. Okay, what are the Wizards even working with for a depth chart right now? Who are they starting? Oh yeah, it's Kuzma. Okay, would they do something like this? So we'd have to like pay them to take him on, right? Because look, they didn't even trade Kuzma last year when they could have gotten assets for him. So it's not like they're doing it for that reason. I don't know if we can pay somebody to take Randle and also get Kuzma back. I just don't think that value makes sense. Like, I don't think the Wizards go for something like that. And they don't need Julius Randle if they have Kuzma. Look, they're not trying to win games either. This would just be them taking on, they'd get some assets for taking him on. So I don't see it. I'd love to add Brogdon to this team somehow, or even a Marvin Bagley would be interesting to me. Hell, like a Sadiq Bey or something. Corey Kispert would be an awesome option for this team. I don't see it logistically making a ton of sense because I think it has to start with like a Kyle Kuzma, and I just don't think that that's a discussion that they can get past. How about the Pistons? No, they need as much floor spacing and offensive movement as possible this year. I don't even want to explore that, even though the Pistons would probably think about it. Do the Thunder do it? No, don't think the Thunder are touching too much right now. Do the Nuggets do it? How could that even happen? They're a first apron team. Is it even possible? I think they're just like financially screwed, right? Like they're just in a situation where it's not going to work. Like Zeke Naji, like no, there's just no way. There's no way we can make this happen. Sorry, Nuggets fans, not happening. The Clippers. We talked about the Clippers a bit already. Yeah, there's definitely something we can do with this, right? There's certainly something we can do. Shout out Terrence Mann, by the way. I didn't even see that he got like a contract extension, so good for him. Clippers need to fill seats. They need better basketball players. We can give them Julius Randle, who's a pretty good basketball player. It would be so cool to get Derrick Jones Jr. on this team. He is recently signed. We don't need Bones because we already have our own Bones and Rob Dillingham. Amir Coffey is a really interesting player to me that can handle the rock a little bit, and we need more guys that can handle the rock a little bit on this team. So I don't mind that idea. So let's start off with this. Let's start off with that. Who else are we sending over? I like the idea of coffee shop, but we need some people with some actual, like, you know, like a little bit of salary right now. The Clippers aren't even like a apron team yet, so this isn't actually as hard as maybe like we think it could be. What kind of picks are you guys working with? They have a swap rights going on with like OKC. Yeah, OKC holds the right to swap rights with them a couple times. Do we throw in like a couple second round picks or something like that? Like, yeah, you give us these second round picks. Let's start off there. I don't really want Norman Powell if I can prevent it. So can we do like a Terrence Mann? I'm feeling like we're gonna need Norman Powell. In which case, I feel like there's some redundancies between him and DiVincenzo, and then you have Ant, and you have all these kind of little bit smaller like guards out on the court at the same time, and I don't really like that, especially when you're going out west. Can we combine? How are you going to make this work without Norman Powell? I'm not sure you reasonably can. Can we? Let's just mess around, right? We throw PJ Tucker in it as well, just because he's PJ Tucker, right? And then you throw in like Amir Coffey or something like that. That's a shitty return. I don't feel good about that at all. Where do we even get to with that? That trade actually works. Yeah, but no, that ain't it. That is not good enough. Like, you need to get more players than that. And like Terrence Mann's not going to help. Like, Terrence Mann's nice. Tucker, you would just cut at the end of the season. You get flexibility with your salary after that. You can figure out if Amir Coffey can be that dude for you or not. I don't know. I don't necessarily love it. I like Julius Randle going over here somehow. But I liked the idea a lot better when Julius Randle was still on the Knicks and we could send Norman Powell over to the Knicks. Like, Norman Powell and the Knicks felt a lot better for some reason. So, I don't know. I want to move on from the Clippers. Dallas. No, they don't need to do that. They don't need to mess with that. Phoenix. How would that even work? How would that even work? I don't know. They have Josh Okogie. There's an avenue somewhere where we can make this happen. There's gotta be, right? Okay, just entertain me for a second. 2 second apron teams, they have to match salaries exactly even. Is this something we could reasonably pull off? So if we do Royce O'Neal Josh Okogie. I'm not saying this is even realistic. I'm just wanting to see how close we can actually get. Give us Bol Bol, because Minnesota fans would love Bol Bol. Where does that get us to? Financial, yep, they need to cut. Yeah, no, not possible. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I wanted to see it with my own eyes, okay? Pelicans, no. We've already seen Julius Randle on the Pelicans. Don't need to see it again. Lakers. Lakers fans, I know you guys want a center, but look, Anthony Davis is good enough to play center. You guys are always worried about him banging with centers and everything. He's fine. He's 253 pounds. He's fine, all right? Would it be cool to see him at the 4? Sure. He doesn't move that much anyway. Like, just don't worry about it. But we can make something work here. We can make something work here. Okay. Julius Randle goes over to the Lakers. Yep, you got your bulky 3 right here, right? You got your bulky 3. Don't worry, I'm not sending D'Angelo Russell back. We already tried that in Minnesota. I will send Rui Hachimura back because they no longer need him. And then we have a first apron team here, so we got to get the salary pretty close. Timberwolves fans would probably love to have Jared Vanderbilt back. Now, what do we do with those guys is my question, right? And maybe I should pull up my sheet. We're back here on the season preview sheet, all. There we go. Okay, so let's just think this through for a second. We moved Julius Randle, right? So now we no longer have a starting power forward. We could throw like a Rui Hachimura in there. Naz Reid probably gets more minutes anyway. That's totally fine. We like Naz Reid in the first 5, like to close out games and stuff like that. That's cool. Rui Hachimura, interesting option. You also have Jared Vanderbilt then, which is an interesting guy because he doesn't space the floor at all. You've got some shooting concerns that you've addressed now that you have DiVincenzo. You have Terrence Shannon, who hopefully is a good shooter. Nah shot well last year. Joe Ingles typically shoots well. We hope Jaden shoots well. What did Rui shoot from the field last year, out of curiosity? What are we getting out of him? He shot 42% from 3 last season. Why did we not give Rui Hachimura more praise? Okay, so I'm liking that so far. So we've got some spacing, but do we take on Jared Vanderbilt as well? Or do we help them by taking on Gabe Vincent? Is an interesting option. What does Gabe Vincent's contract look like? Like, is there a non-guarantee on this? There's not. Okay, we should have figured that. The Lakers would never think of something like that. What do we got with Vando's contract? He's locked in for a while. It would be nice to have another real good defensive kind of forward like that. I mean, put him and Rudy Gobert in the court together. You have no spacing, so you'd never be able to do that, but it'd be locked down defensively. So, man, could you imagine a lineup of Jaden McDaniels, Jared Vanderbilt, and Rudy Gobert? Man, I'd put Anthony Edwards at the point guard, and then, I don't know, maybe throw like a Terrence Shannon here or something like that. That'd be a pretty nice defensive team. I don't know how much it scores, but I like the idea. So I don't necessarily like either of them. So where do we go from there is the question. Like, let's just say it was Gabe Vincent, right? We try this trade financial. You need to cut another like $900K. Okay, relax. Okay, so we go and find Christian Wood, who they don't necessarily need. Do we have another like cheaper player that we could throw back at them? So yeah, we take back Christian Wood, who's like hurt anyway. We send them PJ Dozier just to try to make things work a little bit better. Recently traded, recently signed. Yep. I don't love this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't love it that much. I'm trying to make things work on the fly, y'all. I really am. I'd feel better getting Vanderbilt, but I don't know what I do lineup-wise with them because I can't play Vanderbilt and Rui together at like ever. Like, that's the thing with Vanderbilt, man. It's a similar thing to Julius Randle, and I just kind of don't want that problem back. And I don't feel great about Gabe Vincent. Like he would be a reserve point guard for this team because I'd rather put Rob Dillingham on the court right about now. So I don't love that. I don't know what else we would do. Like, we're not getting Austin Reeves out of them. They might ask us to take D'Angelo Russell, but I don't want to do that. I don't even think with the second apron we could reasonably make something work like that. So this stuff's hard. Sacramento Kings, do they need Julius Randle? No, definitely not. Golden State Warriors? Let's explore it. Right? Ooh. Interesting. So let's just play a game with me for a bit, y'all. Let's just play a game. Do the Warriors have a phenomenal answer as their big man right now? The answer is no, is the answer. They don't have a phenomenal option. Trace Jackson Davis, very interesting young player. We're not like over the moon about this guy yet. Some people want to believe that that's true because he dunked on Wemby once. Relax, okay? Dude's got a long way to go. Kevon apparently lost a bunch of weight. Y'all should go watch his high school mixtape. Maybe he's going to get back to something like that. Do we want Julius Randle on this team just because we need any sort of talent we can get? Do we want Julius Randle and Draymond Green on the same team together? No, that sounds disgusting. But there's a world where you could do it with like a Julius Randle, Andrew Wiggins type thing, because Julius Randle is just going to be able to get more buckets. And like, look, Steph's like the one bucket getter on this team right now. Like, Buddy Hield doesn't even set himself up. So if they just want another guy that can go get some buckets on the team, like, and I would not hate them for it. I really wouldn't. We could do something like this. We could do something like this. Cut another $2.6 million in order to make this work. Calm down. Calm down. Okay, who do we want? Who can we just cut right away? So we need to send over 2.6. Oh man. Okay, well, we also make Moses Moody happy in this trade by sending him over here. Who do we give them then? We have to give them somebody, right? Do y'all want Josh Minott? No, they're going to want more for Moses Moody than that, aren't they? It's so complicated with these trades and like the financials of everything. Who else is a contract that we'd be willing to move? I don't really want to trade any of these guys. I like these guys, and I think that they would as well. Well, we have Bates-Diop. Oh, wait. So we could send Bates-Diop over there instead. That might be a player that they could actually use in some capacity. Then we'd have to include like one of those picks or something like that. Do we send them a couple of seconds? Julius Randle's a better player than Andrew Wiggins. Like, that's just like factually true. He can do and like help a winning team win maybe a little bit more than Julius Randle can, but Julius Randle's just a better basketball player. So maybe I don't think any team feels great about this. I don't think anybody feels we need to cut another $485 million. Jesus Christ, calm down. Okay, yep. So you end up getting Josh Minott anyway. Congratulations. Does this work? Hard cap. Oh, nope. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're trying to force things, y'all. Do the Rockets need them? No, please, no. Do the Jazz? I think the Jazz have enough forwards. We don't need to do that anymore. The Memphis Grizzlies. Do the Grizzlies want to play Jaren at the 5? I mean, let's talk about it, right? Let's at least talk about it. They're not an apron team. Marcus Smart is probably somewhat expendable. We have Rob Dillingham, though. Just a reminder. We also got other players on this team that are kind of interesting. So let's just say, again, Julius Randle, you're going over there to Memphis, right? Marcus Smart, interesting player. Does he fit on that team? I don't necessarily know. What does his contract look like? Is it all guaranteed? Trade incentive or trade bonus. Interesting. Okay, interesting. Okay, so yeah, his contract's like guaranteed or whatever. I forgot he got fined. I remember watching that game. Do we send Marcus Smart over, or do we try to do like a Brandon Clark and others? Because I don't mind the idea of Brandon Clark being sent over there. They get another big body over there. I like the idea of Santi Aldama. That kind of interests me. Like, I could see him maybe being something. I'd want Jake LaRavia a little bit more. So let's send Jake LaRavia over. So we get a bouncy, like somewhat power forward, somewhat center option. He's not going to be the greatest defensive option. He might not be much at all. Would I rather have? No, I need to do Brandon Clark for the financial purposes of this. And then can I throw in like a John Conchar because he's just a really nice utility player? Where do we get the Ooh. Okay. So let's just listen to this real quick, right? We get a lot of cap relief by doing this, right? And what do we get? We get another center. So Naz Reid slides in, maybe becomes a starter, right? Maybe that's what we do. Jake LaRavia has shown a lot of potential and like not a ton of potential, but he's shown that he can start to step up a little bit, and maybe he's starting to develop a little bit more. We've seen him handle the ball a little bit more in recent years, so that's an interesting option. My phone is ringing. Oh, it's work. All right, y'all, I'm back. Sorry, I'm actually starting to get some people calling me about brand deals and stuff like that. So thanks for the support, I guess, and everything. You have to be really careful with what you do with like certain brand deals and stuff. And I've been told I'm a bit of a hard ass when it comes to the negotiations of these things. And I apparently ask too many questions. Like, I want to know what you're doing with this business. And like, who are these people? And like, what does this do? And what does this do? What do you guys do with this? So I don't know, just business talk for you guys. But I actually don't hate this. I don't hate something like this. I think there's more that probably needs to revolve around it, but I like the idea of adding a LaRavia here, having another big man and like a Brandon Clark. John Conchar would be a nice kind of veteran dude to have on this team. I don't know. I don't hate this. I want your guys' feedback on it, but I don't hate a framework like that, and it saves y'all a ton of money. You're going to have to pay Naz Reid after this season. You got to pay Nickeil Alexander-Walker if you want to keep him. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. All right, what teams do we have left? The Spurs. I don't see a universe where it makes sense to trade Julius Randle. I don't think the Spurs would do something like that. And then we just have Portland. Okay. I'd feel so bad for Scoot Henderson if they traded Julius Randle over here. But is there any reasonable way that makes sense? Would you do a Jeremy Grant for Julius Randle for the sole purpose of he's a little bit cheaper and he's got less time on his contract? Would you do something like that? If you're Minnesota, I wouldn't mind. I'd probably rather have a Jeremy Grant than a Julius Randle at this point. I think you've got a real dynamic defense, and at least he can still like space the floor and things like that. So I don't mind that. That's a lot of long-term money you're tying up. Yeah, you can't even do that just because it's a second apron. So that trade's not even going to work. So that's it, right? That's the best we were able to really come up with. So in conclusion, what teams do we think he could go to? Not Cleveland, like none of these teams, not Philly. There's probably something with Miami that you could try to work out. We like something with Brooklyn, probably something with Charlotte. We didn't necessarily see anything else in some of these top teams. You could make something with the Clippers. I don't love it. Maybe you guys like the Norman Powell idea a little bit more than I do. The Lakers one was kind of a hard one to work out. There might be something with the Warriors, but it was complicated. So, man, there's not many options. The NBA's really got a lot of teams stuck, man. Like this is partially why the Timberwolves traded Cat when they did. I mean, you look at it, right? We're $9 million over before we picked up Julius Randle and them. I could show you guys the numbers or whatever. So if we take out him and we take out DiVincenzo and we put Karl Anthony Towns back, and you see they were $17 million over, but they've saved a little bit of money now. Like, it's just hard. It's a lot harder to trade people nowadays, and that's part of the reason they traded Cat is like, look, we just get locked into the team that we have, and we weren't positive we were going to win a championship, and so we figured let's just try to take a trade while it's here. You don't want to be one of those teams that holds on to people too long, but again, I still think they should have kept Cat, and I just wanted to explore what other trades existed for you guys out there. But hey, that's it for this video. Let me know your guys' trade ideas. Hop on in the Discord and shoot your trade ideas in there. We've got a channel for it within there. We're gonna start covering the season now, pretty much. I've got a couple other ideas for videos that I want to do before we get into all of that, but then we're covering the season, y'all. We're here. But hey, thanks so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.